was William R. Hill. I was in the U.S. Army, World War II. I lived in Edgewood, Indiana at that time, and what we did is we listened to radio, and we had newsreels, and of course newspapers, and we would always listen to the news at 6 o'clock at night, Everett R. Morrow, and you know, and so that's where we got the news, and we were always concerned about why it happened, and the words kill and short, the military, the naval leaders at that time were getting a lot of coverage and flack, and of course Roosevelt's famous speech, you know, Day of Infamy, and so that was pretty well registered on my mind. I was, let's see, I was 15, I believe. And so that's about my best recollection, except there was a lot of people that volunteered, thousands of people volunteered in all the services, and we knew about that too, and that, of course, that made us feel good. And so when Pearl Harbor was bombed, then the next day they declared war on Japan, and the next day they declared war on Germany. Well, I tell you, I was colorblind, and I realized that I might not be able to get in the Navy. Nobody wants to get in the worst part. I was 18, and I had thought about, you know, getting in the Civil Air Patrol, but I never did. I didn't take that initiative. That would have given me a head start into the Air Force. But they needed bodies to particular time when I was going in. My dad took me down to the Navy recruiting station. He says, "You're colorblind? Forget it." So that's why that's why the Army chose me. I got the famous letter, "You are requested to report for a physical," you know. And I says, okay. So I says, "Take me, I'm ready to go. I'm not going to wait." So I went down and had my physical. We went from Camp Atterbury to Camp Landing in a old clunker of a locomotive, the smoke, and we had it was very hot. They didn't have an air conditioning, so we rolled up the windows, and the smoke came out on our troop train, and we were just filthy. By the time we got down to Camp Landing, just filthy, just no showers. That's one of the first things we did. We got down to basic training down there. Down there in Florida was beautiful down there, and it was quite an experience. Started out, of course, telling us how to make our beds, and get ready for inspections, and then we proceeded to learn close order drill, right face, left face, about face, forward march, back and forth. And of course that was kind of boring. And it was all of this walking and stuff we had to do was, why do we have to do all this, you know? And we didn't have rifles or anything. And so we had to do all this hiking and listen to all these lectures, and we had what they call the Why We Fight series. And there were a series of movies that we would come and watch. They told us why we were doing what we were doing. That was, you can still see those today. But we gradually became better at walking and hiking. We were not very good shape, and so that over a period of time, we developed our bodies, and the officers and the cadre developed our minds, because an army cannot function if people don't obey orders, and so it has to be a knee jerk. You have to learn how You're going to learn how to that. You're going to be disciplined that way, and you're going to learn it the hard way. And you say 10 push-ups, they mean 10 push-ups, they don't mean 9. They say yes, sir, they mean yes, sir. And you better salute right, you better do it right. I remember one lieutenant colonel, I didn't salute him. I was about 20 feet away from him. I didn't salute him. He go and hit my helmet with with his baton. Says, "You're going to salute me, soldier." That was a real dose of humility. But you know, you have to kind of swallow your pride, and I developed an antagonism. You're an officer. Oh, you're on my list. I mean, that carried with me for a long time. But they taught us, of course, all the weapons, rifles, machine guns, heavy weapons like 57 millimeters, 37 millimeters. We had to crawl under live machine gun fire. We had many long hikes, 9-mile force march. You put on all your things just like you're going to be in combat. You're going to go 9 miles. You're going to get there as fast as you can. Double time, double time. Your officers are teasing you all the way. You're a bunch of pansies, you know, antagonizing you, trying to get the best out of you, put the pencil in you, taking a boy, trying to make a man out of him, trying to make somebody responsible, that they get in there and do the job with each other, work with each other, respect each other, know how you fire your weapons so you fire them in the right place. We fired 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards. We got our medals for that and this kind of stuff. And we had to serve my time doing KP, which means that you have to prepare food and you have to make sure that the mess hall is absolutely clean. The mess sergeant is one of the meanest sergeants in the Army, because if he doesn't keep everything clean, his people are going to get sick. And so everything has to be immaculate. You get in there with the brushes. The tables were all wooden, and we had to scrub the brush scrub them, and the floors and this kind of stuff. The sergeant come out and says, "Nah, it's not clean enough. Do it again." Oh man, it was bad. You get there in the morning, you have to get ready to serve in the morning about 4 o'clock, 4:30, because the meal was at 5:30 or 6. And then you stayed till everything was perfectly clean at night. You were just worn out. Just your clothes were just soaking and stuff. It was quite a lesson in humility. We had inspections every Saturday. And those inspections, they inspected our quarters inside and out. Everything had to be hanging just like this. Your bed had to be perfect. Your shoes had to be shined. Well, the shoes weren't shined because we had boots, and they were, we had the soap that we put on that did not let them shine. And we would often stand at attention for an hour or so at a time, while the platoon officer would inspect every one of us. And what we did that with arms, with our rifles. And over time, we learned how to use these rifles in every position there was. The rifle became your personal friend. You had to be able to keep it clean. You had to be able to tear it down and put it back together again. Same as with machine guns. You had to simulate battle conditions. You had to get yourself ready to do these things. And so I could receive an ultimate compliment one time. My countryman said I had done the best inspection arms he'd ever seen. And I could take that rifle and I would crack that rifle in my hands. Just do everything just a precision military matter. I was very proud of that, and I never forgot it, you know. So, but we had a lot of physical PT exercises. We moved telephone poles. Like I said, we crawled on a machine gun fire. We had to, when you crawled on that machine gun fire, you had your rifle with you. You got down there at the end, everything had to be clean. Do it again. You know, they have explosions around you. to simulate battle conditions. And it was they made it as real as possible. And that was live machine gun fire. You could hear it whistling over, just flying over your head. Not that you could hear the individual bullets, but you could, they would spray an area. So you knew you'd been under some interesting stuff. Now, my understanding was that some people was taught that when the machine gun fire stopped, you're supposed to get up and run and then fire again. But we never had to do that, thank God. I could visualize some bad things. We had, one of the last things we did, we learned how to do a parade, do parades. We would walk and hike, and we were 12 abreast. And we could do it like a cartwheel. And it was very nice thing to do. Now, in spite of all this crucible forming you into a soldier, there's a point where you become proud of yourself. And so we would march, and our feet would all hit the ground at the same time. And we could see other units come toward us. And we could see if they were young units, older units. You could tell by how they were walking. But we learned to be pretty sharp. And so I took a lot of personal pride in myself. I challenged one of the physical education guys one time. I said, well, who's going to do this arm length the longest? And I decided, well, he tried to make us do it a minute more and more and more. And I decided I was going to put him down one time, and I did. I put him down. I took him. He was hurting like crazy, but I had to do it, so I did it. I felt good about that. The last thing we did in basic training was take an overnight hike, 18 miles, full field packs, everything. And that pack is pretty heavy. I'd say 50 pounds. You always carry 2 blankets. You carry a shell. You have a tent. You have sea rations for a day. That's 6 cans. You have your water. You have your canteen. You have your canteen water. You have your cooking gear. You have your rifle belt with full of bullets, and you got your first aid pack, and you're pretty well loaded down. But you plod along, because this is what you kind of have to take in with you in there. And so that last big hike was pretty important. And as we got there, we had to dig foxholes. So anyway, the war in Europe was pretty strong about that time. It was in September, October, November of 1944. And the Germans made their famous counterattack. Von Rundstedt come across. And they cut our training short. They took 110 of us guys and sent them to Europe. But they sent 55 of us back to the Pacific. And I was one of the last guys to leave the quarters. And so I had the job of delivering bread and stuff. And the bread was made by German prisoners of war. We put them to work. But they really had it made as prisoners. That's what they had to do for a job. Hey, they had it made. Compared to what some of our soldiers had over there. So that all this time, I had to get over getting homesick. I had a girlfriend. We were writing letters all the time. And the weather was great there. Army chow was really good. Very good chow. We got good food. And when we were out in the out doing our training session, we'd be out in the sand somewhere, and our company commander would call us together, and he'd tell us what all bad things we've been doing, good things we've been doing. He'd tell a joke or two and laugh and so forth. And this one particular time, he says, somebody had left a piece of ice cream paper or something out somewhere. And he called us together. He says, "You're all a bunch of pigs. You're all a bunch of pigs. Now get down in the sand and act like pigs." That's so you can imagine how that would turn out. But we laughed about that. We got a laugh between us. We had a lot of shots, but that wasn't a particularly good experience. But those medics, boy, they hit you. Some of the guys couldn't take it; they would collapse, and we'd laugh at them. So anyway, we finished up the training, and I came home. And it was really nice coming back up through it. Indianapolis was cold and there's snow on the ground. And I gave my girlfriend an engagement ring. And I was there about 4 or 5 days. And it was those sad days. Got some sad pictures of me and my family. But that's the way it is. We left at the Union Station. I left at the Union Station. Went upstairs and waved goodbye to me on the train. Don't forget that stuff. And so I went to Fort Ord, got some more training there. There's a big place out in California. It called out under more machine gun fire. Yeah, the training there, there's a big training base. And they had a big beer garden out on the bay, which is kind of neat. But the beer they had in the Army was 3-2 beer, just very mild beer. You have to drink a lot of it to get popped. On purpose. So I went up to Fort Lawton, and shipped out from Fort Lawton. The big thing of Fort Lawton was with the big crap games. You get a blanket out, and there'd be 20 guys playing shooting craps. The first thing you know, there would only be 3 or 4 guys. And there were some Japanese Americans that came from Italy. These soldiers had performed very well down there, and they were there, and they were going home to Hawaii, and that was our next stop. So we went to ship to Hawaii, and a lot of us were seasick. It took a while to get used to that. I had a training at Hawaii for about a month, all different kinds of training. Climbing down cargo nets, learn how to kind of tropical fruit you could eat, and how to do all these things. And we went through a lot of pineapple fields. And this beautiful area up in the mountains. You could see Diamond Head. You saw where the planes where the ships would be. We could see those things. There we went up there on a little narrow gauge railroad to our camp. We had no passes there. From there we went to shipping to the Marianas. The Marianas consists, of course, of Guam, Tinian, and Saipan. And that's where the B-29 bombers took off from. And we came through there. We could see the B-29 bombers coming back. And they had these smoked engines, probably had a lot of holes in them. Some were flying low, some of them flying high. We saw them coming in. And we went on into Saipan. Saipan is a jungle island. Spent about a month there training, advanced training. It taught us how to take our weapons and jump with them. Not just pick them up to the shoulder. Jump with your weapon, because if you're in the jungle, you don't have time to put your weapon up to your shoulder. So we learned to fire machine guns that way too. You put the machine gun belt over and you fire machine guns just like that. And so we had brigades. It's a sweltering island. There was a smell of death there. There was a corpse somewhere that they never got rid of and never cleaned up. You could smell it. It was just sweltering island, banana trees and stuff. And the food there was just terrible. We got Australian rations. We go to the mess hall, and the sweat just runs out of you. They served us lousy food. So we could go on the beer line afterwards, And we did. We had the beer line. And 3-2 beer. And it was warm. It wasn't cold. It was a diversion. And we had boxing matches. I participated in them occasionally to prove my manhood to me and other guys, you know. And we had a recreation hall. And we would go over there and play ping pong, cards, play the piano. And we had a situation there the last day we get ready to ship out. And so we had a bunch of the men got together, and one of the guys got up and said, "Say, would you sing a song for my brother? He just died in Italy. I just got word." And so we sang that song, My Buddy. And it kind of, you know, kind of gets to you, even though you're a man, he man, you know. It gets to you. You still have feelings, you know. And so we sang the song. He got up and says, "Would you sing it again?" Hey, that's tough. We sang it again. And I walked back to my tent that night by myself. Yeah. It's coming. Am I ready? I don't know if I'm ready or not. Where's my self-confidence? I know I'm not there for my glory. I know it's going to be a challenge. And I knew when I walked back from out of basic training that I wasn't ready. I knew then. There's something missing there. But in retrospect, you cannot teach everybody what they're going to come across. You just have to do it. And so, that the following morning, everybody got their canteens, got to make sure their canteens were full. I remember I had taken my steel helmet and had it shaved and stuff out of the steel helmet. Got myself all ready, packed everything out, so I had left that tent back there. We had several guys that ended up being my buddies, especially that one John. John ended up being one of my best buddies, and I got pictures of him. But that following morning, we did leave and the cloud of dust, and we got on board this ship, climbed up the gangplank and saluted the officer. You could smell the diesel fuel. Oh, you know, down in the head, down in the hold of the ship, picked us out above. Got some top side and watched some people. Everybody filed in. They pulled the gangplank up. We started to Okinawa. And on the back, you can see the island disappear. So we was on board this troop ship. There was about 600 of us, at least 600 of us on that ship. And I looked up old buddy, John, and I reminded him of that song we sang. Yeah, he said, yeah, it's pretty touching. So the trip we took to Okinawa, we didn't know we was going to Okinawa. We just thought maybe we was going to Cyprus, going to another island, but they didn't want us to know anyway. And so we were in a convoy going to Okinawa, and there was a circle, the ships were circling us, destroyer escorts, because they wanted to make sure we got there. We were in an area where the submarines were very active. And so this whole trip took about 6 or 7 days, and we zigzag, and you could look out, you you could see the sailors wig-wag doing their slicing, their lights. And as I knew Morse code, I would try to pick up their code and see what they were trying to say, but they was all in code. I couldn't figure it out, so that was kind of interesting. And of course, we watched the fishes go by, and we would play chess and play cards, and just to pass the time away. We had 3 meals a day, and the soldiers, the sailors would practice firing their 50 caliber machine guns. And they would shoot at a plane would fly over, and they'd have a banner flying by, and they would aim at that. They'd fire at the 50 calibers. Noisy, I mean noisy, just bang, bang, just terrible. And so we were the last day. The officer says, well, "Okay, bring all your gear on top side." And so we took all of our duffel bags and so forth and piled them by this one mast. And he came up and helped us adjust all of our equipment. That was one of the first times I appreciated an officer. I was, like I say, I was an antagonistic relationship. I thought, my gosh, this guy's actually human. Get this ready to go. Well, as so would have it, they gave us 2 extra bandoliers of ammunition. Our cartridge belts was full, our rifles were loaded. We had 2 extra bandoliers, and they gave us the gas mask. We had our pack on our back, and just everything was just, we're just ready to go. And so it got pretty burdensome, so we just take them off and sit down on them, watch. And over here on the right, there was a big dark smoke coming from this island. And what is this? What is that? What's that going on? And then we kept getting closer and closer. The ships was closing in. And so we could see that this was either a ammunition dump and blown up, or a plane that crashed, whatever it was. We didn't know, but whatever it was, obviously serious. And so our ship came in then, there was ships all around. It was becoming late in the afternoon. It was cloudy overboard, cloudy. And I learned that we were fortunate because if the skies had been clear, there'd been kamikazes attacking us. And those kamikazes came in 3 and 4 at a time on your ship. We were very fortunate. So we came in, climbed over the nets, got in little Higgins boats. It just kind of, the boats were scraping against the ship in the water, and the water was kind of rough, you know, and finally, the guys could have broken their legs, so we're getting them down in there. Coming down those ropes, guys were standing on each other's hands, going down. That was, of course, the ship's going like this, and you're banging against the side, or you're holding on, you know, you don't want to fall down to drink. So we got down there and we loaded in these ships, and there was 10 or 15 ships, these little Higgins boats, and they started churning the water and heading towards the island. Over on the left side, there's a hospital ship. That hospital ship with illuminated lights. And in front of us was the ambulances. Delivered 4, 6, 8 guys at a time. On and on and on. By the time we got there, they had filled 2 hospital ships. There were at least 10,000 of us coming in to replace people that have been killed or wounded on all the different groups. And so when the ambulances finally cleared, we came on in, it crashed the front of the landing craft opened up, we walked out, you could hear the chains on it scraping down, all down the line. I put my feet on the ground again. good gracious, the ground was good to get off of out of the water and onto the land. And so we came back in through there. We pitched our tents. Like I say, we're fortunate there wasn't any kamikazes come through. Nobody did any foxholes and nothing. Which I got to thinking about that. You know, that was kind of dumb. We should have done. Everybody should have done a foxhole. Foxholes protect you from artillery shells or shrapnel. We didn't do it. I thought, my gosh, in retrospect, why the heck did we do it? So the name was called the following morning. It was just like Indiana. Weather was nice. The clouds flying over. You could see some blue. Temperature was just nice. So we came across there and put us on 6x6 trucks and loaded us all in. Everybody helped out. Everybody else on getting these trucks. And then we started driving back through the rice paddies and the cane fields, in between them back and forth. So we came past the artillery unit, and they kind of waved at us as we went by. You could see trees had just been blown off. The tops had just blown off. They were just splitters. And then you'd see maybe a hut back farther away, a civilian house that maybe wasn't touched. They came in swaying around and the grass, and everybody pitched off, got off. And so got there, and, hey, anybody from Indiana? Indiana. Everybody's always wanting to find somebody from their own state. You know, make them feel a little better. Yeah, we have a couple of guys here from Indiana. Yeah, sure. And they gave us some fruit salad. I thought, my gosh, this is good. Good food. They remembered us. It's better than the food we've been getting for the last 3 months. So that felt pretty good. So they put me in I volunteered for the mortar squad, and I got into the mortars. And there was a guy from my basic training there. Alton, are you there? He and I used to kid each other back there. We're going to meet each other in the jungle. And here we are. He said, good, hell, we'll dig in together. And so I came back in, and my squad leader took us around and said, you guys go over here. And he's kind of like he was just at the fourth article. Remember, he did everything on the top. Everybody was relaxed. So Alton and I was over here, and he said, yeah, come on, we'll dig our own foxhole together. So we dug our own foxhole. It says, okay, it's time for chow. Okay, let's go for chow. Good, I'm ready to go. Went down. All these guys were relaxed. Some had guns on their shoulders. Others had guns on their side. Some were carrying their carbines. Some had their bristly old beards. Because they just got through the island of Leyte. They'd come back for a rest. The reason we joined them at this particular time was they came back for a rest, and that's when they get replacements. And this was the last of May, the first of May of 1945. Some of the big battles had already taken place in April. We'd lost some of our men, and in our company we'd lost some of our men. Artillery shells had taken them out, and one guy died in one of the caves. The caves collapsed. They couldn't get him out in time. Had lost several men. And so I looked around at those guys. They went through the chow line. Oh, you want seconds? You want some more? Oh, yeah. Put me on some more. Yeah. Guys are so relaxed. Oh, my gosh. There was a hospital tent over here. Excuse me, the mess tent was over here. And so they introduced me to some of my squad members. And sure enough, there was another guy from Indiana. And he became a good friend of mine, too, later on in life, just like Alton did. And so I looked around those guys, some were in their 30s. Man, I was impressed. I thought a guy there could have walked through a brick wall. They'd been through it. Don't mess with these guys. Don't mess with them. So Alt and I went back to our foxhole, and we set the tent up over it and so forth. Now the reason we had the foxhole because there still could have artillery could have come in. We were guarding the Kadena airstrip, and the whole division was guarding the Kadena airstrip in case the Japanese decided to come back in and use it. But this one Japanese plane did come flying in. He turned his lights on and was trying to land on that airstrip, and he didn't last long. So they took him out pretty quick. But we had a chance to go to movies. They had good movies for us. But every night there was an artillery gun that would come out. They had a Japanese artillery on tracks. And they bring this artillery gun out and fire a few shots and go back inside the hill. They finally got a vector on him and took him out, but he was coming in every night. And so we went to watch. I don't think we ever got to watch one movie because about every night. And so I remember one air raid, a plane would fly over, and there was so much tracers. You could see the tracers following like an umbrella. He bombed one of the ships in the harbor and came back over, and he was flying so low I could see. The flak was popping around him. It was illuminating his face. I could see him fly over. I got thinking, boy, he's one brave guy. I don't know if I could do that or not. Of course, he probably never made it back either, but I mean, he was gutsy. Well, all that shrapnel has to come down, and it was coming down through the trees. And we went back into a pillbox that had been made years ago, and we were looking out that aperture of that pillbox, and there was they had a valley there. They could have killed it. Well, they were prepared for anybody coming in through there, but apparently that was one of the pillboxes they never used. But that shrapnel coming down of the trees, you can't afford to fight. You have to get under something because that's going to come down on top of you. If you're in a foxhole, it don't make a bit of difference. It's going to get you from the top. So anyway, we of course survived that. There would come time for us to go to up front, and you might know it started to rain. Rain. And that beautiful foxhole we had to cover it all, and take that mud and fill it all and camouflage it. And two green guys, 18 years old, it was still a job. So it gave us some ammunition because my job officially was an ammo carrier. I was 18. All these other guys that were the gunners and so forth, they were the people that they were already established their positions. So I would carry ammunition, and I had all my gear and 4 or 6 rounds of mortar shells. I was loaded down. It was all raining like crazy. Fall in line, you guys, fall in line. Guys are hollering at us. We're the youngest guys. We know how to be organized. Get in line. Come on, back up. Come on. We need you guys. Come on. Well, we felt like dummies, We finally got in line. And so we got in line, and we go to column of 2s. We got our ponchos on us, raincoats and everything, just raining like crazy. The raincoats come down to here, and the water just runs right down in your boots. You just slosh. Gosh. We walk in the mud about that deep for about a half an hour. It was we were not in a formal march, but we were within there, like what they call route step, and we just walked in through there, column of 2s. went around and we says, okay, this is where we're going to dig in. We're digging back to the side of the hill, which is called the WWll position, so that artillery shells come in, you're down in here, you're not going to get you. So we dug our holes, tried to dig our holes in rock. It won't work. So we dug out rocks, and we built rocks, and put our tent over the rocks, and me and Avery slept like this. It was so hard to get all that stuff done in time. Couldn't sleep. Artillery, our own artillery, was firing all night. All those hills, every time a gun would go off, go bang, you would hear it echo, bang, 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 echo, bang, 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 bang. It went on, bang, all. Like they never got any sleep. What is that noise? Of course, I didn't know what the noise was at the time, but it was our own artillery going off. Man, finally I did get a little sleep. Woke up the next morning, all the old vets were all ready to go. What, you're ready to go? Man, we had to take our scramble all around. We're just green kids. So we finally got ready. And so, okay guys, move on. So we went around this hill. What have we got here? Some Jap had slipped through and had put a landmine to trap in the tracks, trying to take out one of our tanks or trucks. Had slipped through the lines during the night. How on earth did he get back through this far? What kind of a man was this? Went by, and there, at the bridge, was an Okinawa woman and her baby, dead. Now look, I hadn't even thought about civilians dying. We swang on around there past them, and there was the 7th Division was getting ready, we're going to relieve the 7th Division, so we took over their foxholes. We just changed blankets with them. We took over their foxholes. We got a real good foxhole, nice tent. It had been raining so bad, they had the ammo boxes and it fixed it so the water would rain went right underneath the tent. We had so much rain. We took out, hey boy, we got it made here. Yeah, we got it made, yeah. So we loaded, the trucks came in and loaded our ammunition, trucks came in and loaded our food, our water, our gasoline, the trucks came in and so forth. We got all ready to do our stuff. We had 6 mortars all lined up, and we had zeroed them all in. The forward observer would say, fire one, and they'd locate, and everybody was all set up for war. Ammunition stacked up here and there, all ready to go. Well, finally we got all that stuff ready, and time to get our sea rations. Alton and I, here we are, open up our sea rations, looking out around all we could see, and all the trucks coming in and out. We had a pretty good vantage point. And so that was rather uneventful that first night. The next day we got up, wasn't too much to do. We were all set up, ready to go. This is about the 10th of May. The general offensive takes place on the 11th. That means all across the line, everybody's going to attack. All divisions going to make this massive attack. Well, Alton and I say, well, let's go see what we can see. Which we should not have done because they booby-trapped things. Went out, there was this Army tank, had been knocked out, there was a great big hole in that tank. We crawled inside that tank, there's an Army leg in there. Maggots on the leg. We realized we were on like Holy Land in a sense. One of our best buddies had probably been killed there. Tank crew wiped out. We got out of there, just kids, looking around. There's 2 Jap soldiers over there, dead soldiers. They've been laying in the sun 3 or 4 days. They're all swelled up. not too good. So anyway, we went back without incident. And then another time we went back and we was looking for things to bring back, and we ended up bringing back a chicken. And the chicken laid us some eggs. We had fried eggs. That was kind of cute. So anyway, then the festive took place, and we were involved with firing. And we put the increments on the shell, and everybody checks to make sure they're just right. We fire these. They all offensive started across the line, and they dropped these shells in. They're all busy, up and down the line firing these things. You could actually see the shells, and the trajectory they'll go at least 1,500 yards, and they can lay those shells right just exactly where they want them in a pattern. Because if the Japanese come forward, they just saturate the area. They saturate the area ahead of our troops, so they're pushing off. They're saturated right in front of them. Also, artillery's coming in, doing the same thing. The ships at sea are dropping in themselves. They're heavy. They're just throwing all kind of lead at these guys, and you could hear those. You could hear those artillery shells swimming, just like 6 or 7, 8 of us are. Maybe you could hear them crunch, 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 crunch. Boy, we knew they were really catching it. But with their offensive was pretty tough. And so we stayed there, and I helped carry the wounded back. And they had an aid station there. And they brought this one, there was so much rain and stuff, it was terrible. They had to, the jeeps couldn't run, it was too much mud, so they had weasels. And they had to take the wounded and put these on the weasels. And the weasels had trouble getting in the mud. The guys get together and they helped push the weasels out so the guys could take the wounded men back. And they had this one guy, we brought him back on the stretchers. And he'd been wounded down and through here. And the flies were as big as your thumbs. The flies were generated off the corpses, but the flies were just terrible. You had to swat them off the guys. Here's this guy's been wounded, and he has to put up with these flies. And they got this guy at the aid station, and he wanted to know if he was okay. And the doctor looked at him and says, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." And all the guys were happy for him, that he was going to make it. Now that's camaraderie, isn't it? Isn't that camaraderie? Hey, he's going to make it, guys. Well, with this aid station, we took several in, and also saw new people coming up. Green people, fresh uniforms, picking their way up. And I knew, and everybody else knew, a lot of those guys were not going to make it through the night. They put them in these lines with other guys. They hope to heck they're trained well enough to take care of themselves. But even if they are, things happen. They were having grenade fights all night long, throwing them back and forth to each other. That's tough fighting up there. Fortunately, I was a border man. I didn't have to put up with that. But we supported those guys. To bring the wounded out, we'd bring smoke shells in. To make watch which direction the wind was blowing. We'd cover it so they could get the wounded out. And so they even dropped, the planes would come in and drop medical supplies. And these planes would come in and they'd get ready to drop their supplies. They'd slow way down, drop their supplies, and then they would take their wing flaps, and take off again. I thought they'd slow down so they could drop the supplies right where they needed them, medical supplies, food, whatever. This rain was so bad. And all across, of course, the whole canal was that way. I've learned later on it was probably worse than other places. I was glad where I was. Well, as troops move forward, you elevate your guns differently, your shells, your mortars. You change the angle, and you fire ahead. Well, then you run out of you run out of range, and then you have to move on up. So he moved on up, and we saw some flamethrowers coming in. They had some Japs caught in one of these caves. I saw one call out to bring that Japan out. Detekoi, come out, Detekoi. And saw them using flamethrowers, and they came on out, and crossed the area where there was a sniper. Then we came back and we set up our camp. Set up our camp from there to the next day. And Alton here, he's just dragging behind us. Come on, Alton, come on, catch up with everybody, come on. We were laughing at him. But we got there, and at this particular spot, and we passed a spot where they had a bunch of Japanese corpses. I'd say they're about 20 feet by 20 feet square, about this high. And the flamethrowers are burning them to get rid of them. That was pretty bad, but they had to get rid of them. They were just causing all kinds of problems, the flies and everything. And so they got rid of them that way. That's where they got big black smoke. Anyway, following night we came in here and had pitched our tents. We didn't do foxholes then again for some reason. And then the Jap soldier slipped through the line, slipped through our line, and somebody grabbed him by the heel. And they went on in the bushes, and they threw some flares down there. They all attacked him, and just tore him up. But before he died, you could hear him crying like a baby. So we got down there, and the next morning, I went out there and looked at him. He wasn't in very good shape. And I called for a detail to the little walled city out here. I was called to patrol that. We're going to go in there and check it out, see if any Japs would slip through. And so I was in this patrol. They came, there's about 8 of us in this patrol, went into this little area. And all of a sudden there was a sniper fire on us. We all dropped to the ground. And finally, the sergeant said, "Come on, let's go." We got up, walked through this little city. It was all mostly block buildings. And so I was the last man, and I had to follow, make sure my safety was off, because they wait till the last man goes through and then they attack you from the rear if they get a chance. And I was very glad to get through that patrol and get back. Believe me, I was really glad. Because that was my first patrol, So anyway, NRC rations, we took off. And it was interesting to notice the reconnaissance planes would come flying in, taking pictures. I forgot, B-29 or B-29, B-38, P-38. I forget what it was, but it's double wing. It was beautiful, beautiful to see them make a 180-degree turn. So we came down to this one area, little town. We stayed there for a little while one night, and then we took off to the left, and I heard a noise. This ping! And the Japanese had taken this hand grenade, hit his camel with it, and put it in his gut, and blew himself up. He went by, he was still smoking. And so the guys were digging through his body, getting souvenirs. See, he's got a watch or something, whatever. Tear something up. My buddy had a bag of gold teeth. That's how he got his teeth. They were ruthless guys. But for what happened to those people in Lacey, they just deserved every little thing that they got. Went all around there, and there was some Marines that fired some rockets. We saw those rockets go off. There's an anti-tank gun was firing into a pillbox. We came on back in and says, this is where we're going to camp. So we camped there, dug a new foxhole. My buddies teased me when I threw on their sea ration cans in my foxhole. They reminded me that years later. And so I was on guard duty one night, and I was at the end of this plateau. What we'd do, the Japanese would slip through at night, and so we would put up trip flares. So if they would trip the flares would pop. You could see what was going on. Well, I'm at the end of this plateau, and I've got this Browning automatic rifle that's got a big magazine on. It's a heavy, big, heavy weapon. It's a heavy rifle. It's a heavy one. It's called a Browning automatic rifle, or the BAR. And some Japs had tripped that flare, and I saw them. And I emptied that right in their area. Shuffled around, put the other magazine back in, because I realized I was very vulnerable. I didn't have anything to fire. I got that loaded up again. That was a long night waiting for that night to get over. And the next morning I found out there was two Japs had been killed. Did I kill them? I don't know. If I did, I did. I felt no remorse whatsoever. That's the way it is. If he had got tripped up on me, he'd have killed me in the instant. He might have slit my throat first. That's the way the Japs are. But I got there before he did. Now I'm here to tell my story, and he's not. That's the reality. That's really reality. We finally artillery came in on us one day there, and Alton and I took off looking for see what we could find, and we started bringing back civilians. But we brought back about 30 civilians and took them back to the refugee camp. And so at that particular point, there was a road to come by us, and they were hauling one time there's a truckload of dead bodies, dead Americans, and they were stiff. And every time that truck would hit a bump, they'd go like this. I got down there, I got down there and yelled at that driver. I said, "Slow down." They're repulsive. Man, that didn't go too well with me. You know what I mean? So anyway, they finally declared the island secure. We lost a lot of men there. You know, my particular platoon there, we didn't lose any that I know of. It's that as far as I was with them, we didn't lose anybody. Went back to hot showers. Oh, that was beautiful. Hot showers, beautiful. And so we had these hot showers. We had big tents. We would go into big 6-man tents. We got to know each other a lot better. And so we had when the generals were killed. General Buckner had been killed. General Easley had been killed. And so they had replaced him with a General Vinegar Joe Stilwell. He was from Southeast Asia. He came back from that area and came up, and he became the new commander. He won a parade review. He wanted to inspect his troops. Man, that was an experience. We'd only learned it in basic training. here it's really going to happen. We lined up just like 12 in a row. And so the person, the one on the inside, he does this. He presents arms, and we all do a right face, right face as you're marching along. And Vinegar Joe Stillwell reviewed his troops, and he stood there at salute with a smile on his face. That made me feel good. He would actually put a smile on his face for his troops. Now, how many troops he had? There were 4 Army divisions, and 2 Marine divisions on that island. I hope he did it the same with the rest of them, because they really got it. I felt pretty good about that. So anyway, the typhoon was coming in, and so we had to leave early. Got on this LST, loaded all our gear on there. Our tanks, trucks, everything, tents, everything we had, and our company was there. And we rode out that typhoon. And that ship was going like this, and shudder, hit the waves, shudder, just shake. I went on topside to see how long I could last, how tough I was watching it. I got up there and the waves were flashing across the ship and stuff like that. 20-foot waves and surges and this kind of stuff. I could only take it so long. I said, I gotta get down below. I can't take any more of this. Back downstairs, I was seasick for 4 days. I mean, it was bad. There was water was coming in the front of this ship. And there's one incident happened there on that ship. Well, actually 2. They found out we were not as good as the sailors. It didn't last long. We've been through 2 battles, and we're going to eat just as good as any Navy personnel that's on the ocean. And they got that straightened out pretty quick. We were not in any mood. These little guys in their little white uniforms running around. They were nobody else to us. Of course, they were all Americans, but you know. And then the bulletin board, the notice came. A bomb had been dropped. What? A bomb had been dropped? Wow. We may not have to go into Japan. And then, okay, yes, it was good. We finally landed on Mindoro Island, and then he dropped the second bomb. Boy, we knew it was over. Sure enough, it was over. We were all happy. And we stayed there, the division stayed there till December. And they went home as a group. I didn't have enough points. I had to stay. That was pretty well World War II. We were part of the greatest generation, I'm told. We were just doing our job, you know. And we were very modest about it. 99% of us didn't do it for the glory. We had a job to do. But they give us the title, Greatest Generation, which is all right, you know. Little recognition, not bad, you know. So I went back to Okinawa, took a trip back to Okinawa in 2000, a tour. Was there for about 6 days, and planted my feet on the ground. Kakuzu was the first place. It was one of the worst battles we had, Kakuzu. And I met a lot of guys there. 4 of the guys there was in there, all were dead eyes, and they all had shrapnel. They were still carrying shrapnel. And so the general's daughter was there with us, and we got to meet her, and we saw where her general was killed. And she told us about some peripheral things about it. my son Paul and I really enjoyed that. They're peaceful people. I don't believe I saw a cop when I was there. Just really peaceful people. And you could see the same old landscape. You see the big hills that have put a golf course around it. And we was right in the city of Naha, and one of the biggest battles was in Naha. But that was just a nice, peaceful place. And it was just, a good experience. We went to Toy Station, and the Army people there chose the latest equipment, the latest firing equipment, stuff like this. And we named the street after General Buckner. His daughter was there, and it intersected Eisenhower Drive. Eisenhower said, we didn't know, no, excuse me, MacArthur. So didn't know if they liked that too well or not, because MacArthur was antagonistic to some people. So anyway, we met a nice people there, good food. Went back to the shore where the Jedi's landed, picked up some coral, and met some other very interesting people there. And so the next thing we did, I did to explain to you, was the Jedi reunions. I have attended several Jedi reunions, and with as of to date, we've had 57 reunions. They still meet. Last time they met in Chicago. And so my daughter was with me when one of these reunions. She says, we've got to have a website. We got to tell these guys stories. When we go to these reunions, we were all like family. My M company, we were gentlemen with wives and so on. We'd all eat together. We became like family. And they always, at the reunions, they always had a big dinner dance last. And in the afternoon, they have a memorial service. And you don't forget those memorial services. Bagpipes and all. You don't forget them. And so my daughter and I started a website, and we've had it now for 6 years. And we've got over 40 stories, tributes and stories, and another 50 other items. And these other items are of interest to people, to try to get people interested in history, because my daughter is a retired school teacher, and she says, if we do this X, Y, and Z, people will be more interested in listening to, get interested in history. And so we have, those are in the Musette bag. Also, I've featured, I took the Honor Flight back a couple of years ago, that's on there. And I also have a feature called the Queen of Battle, which is something that I'm laying claim to. My story, all my buddies, my close buddies have passed away, and I have their stories on there. And it's truly been a labor of love. We've helped a lot of people make connections and find out things about Grandpa, about their dad. In fact, I'm working on some today. And so my buddies that have passed away, close buddies, I still hear their voices. And it's just touching to me. I brought back some soil from Okinawa. Soil that was harder, and I do pass it out occasionally to people that are interested. But this soil was harder. I picked this up at Cote Ridge. In addition to that, I took some soil out of my backyard. I put a needlepoint, Cote Ridge, and the Toy Station. Part of my backyard is still Okinawa. It might have been quite illegal to do that thing, but I did it. And here's this soil I brought back. It's dried out now, but a lot of times that was mud. Who knows if there's any DNA in this? Who knows? I wrote a poem about my friends after I took that trip back to Okinawa. I was inspired to write a poem. And it was read at two different reunions. It's called Always a Dead Eye. Once a dead eye, always a dead eye. I'm proud to be known by the name. It's the nickname of my little army outfit. And deep down, we're all the same. We are a brotherhood of combat men, all proud dog faces of World War II. The best division in the whole Pacific, doing what we had to do. 96 settled the score, and well, we did it too. We were on the lines of Lady in Okinawa where the fighting was there to do. We wiped out Japs by the thousands and captured miles of their lands and lost many, many of our buddies. Our arms, our legs, and our hands. Many years have now since gone. The memories have slipped away, but still remains that pleasant glow of brotherhood made upon that day. Once a dead eye, always a dead eye. I'm really proud of the name. We all enjoy camaraderie in my world, and deep down, we're all the same. I salute you.